For as long as humans have existed, we've been trying to forget that we do, in fact, exist. From drugs to dreams to drinking bleach, we'll try just about anything. Unfortunately for the Romans, they hadn't invented bleach yet. What they lacked in bleach, they made up for in visual fidelity, as they're able to watch extreme violence in real time. Gladiator fights, animal fights, hobo fights. The Romans really did have it all. Why, then, did the Roman Empire fall? The games, as they came to be known, were free and featured not just fights, but executions, races, circuses, and other attractions. They started as a scheme for rich senators to distract the filthy peasants from the fact they were filthy peasants. While stopping short of fixing any of the peasants' problems, it reminded them that as bad as it was to be poor, at least you weren't that guy getting eaten by a tiger. Unfortunately, after years of famine and another costly war with German barbarians, state ownership of the Colosseum was auctioned off to pay Rome's debts. The funding allowed Rome to survive, and profits from the Colosseum allowed the new ownership to expand into additional ventures, such as live music, professional sports, and theater. Who could complain? The peasants who could not afford the tickets, perhaps, but who cares about them? With the Colosseum fully booked, the new owners began to buy additional venues around Rome and its provinces. Before long, they owned literally all of them, creating an empire of their own. And, like any good empire, they needed a new name. This was the birth of Ticketmaster, or, in the original Latin, Ticketmaster. Despite their monopoly, Ticketmaster was faced with a problem. How were they supposed to make more money if they could no longer expand? They lobbied for invasions across the Rhine or into Parthia, but bureaucracy was slow and inconsistent. Should Ticketmaster renovate their stadiums, innovate tastier snacks and drinks, lower ticket prices, and bring back the peasants? Of course not. This is capitalism, baby. They needed to bleed the Romans dry. You can actually plot the demise of Rome against the rise of Ticketmaster. It's a perfect correlation. The conflict boiled to a head over the release of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Tickets to the Fellowship of the Ring, while expensive, were affordable to the average Roman. The Two Towers tickets, on the other hand, were completely out of reach of most Romans. Fortunately, the wise and benevolent Ticketmaster offered a special promotion. Trade in your firstborn, get free admission for a family of 4. You got to watch the Battle of Helm's Deep, and Ticketmaster got another gladiator. A true win-win. To our modern sensibilities, this promotion might seem harsh, but you have to consider. Your child will only disappoint you. The Two Towers never would. After The Two Towers, the rumors started. A third movie to complete the trilogy, a spectacle like none other. The birth rate skyrocketed. Gossip magazines flew off the shelves. Ticketmaster tingled in anticipation. Then the day finally came. The Return of the King. The conclusion to the most epic series of all time. The meaning of life. Romans partied in the streets, and a national holiday was declared. Then the bomb dropped. Ticketmaster did not repeat their trade-in program, not even for a dozen children. If your gold wasn't enough to swim in, it wasn't enough for Ticketmaster. The Romans couldn't believe it. Was Ticketmaster insane? What was the point of having more children if you couldn't trade them in? To prove a point, Ticketmaster allowed a single exception to a woman who sacrificed both her kidneys. She died before the previews. Was Boromir's sacrifice in vain? Could Frodo resist the temptation of the ring? Is the rumor about the crossover with Transformers true, and Optimus Prime battles Sauron in a 1v1 cage match? Non-disclosure agreements awaited those who could afford tickets to not divulge a single detail under penalty of death. That was, of course, assuming they could get in to view the movie in the first place. Bands of angry Romans paraded around the city, jealously watching for any rich snob who dared purchase tickets. If they couldn't watch the movie, no one would. Nevertheless, there were some who sought to defy the Dark Horde's power. Thus, a fellowship was made. The rich elites conspired in secret at the estate of Elbond in a Roman dell. It was a journey fraught with peril, as many Romans had joined in arms outside the Colosseum. They found a creature, seagull, to lead them on a secret path and out of the eye of Bauron, a guy who could see really well. But Siegel was jealous and wanted the tickets for itself, mistaking them to be French fries. A harrowing tale, but critics describe it as unbelievable, as the Fellowship could have simply flown into the Colosseum on giant eagles, which were not extinct at the time. The Huns, as book Puritans, were not fans of the artistic liberties taken in the movies, and marched on Rome to set the record straight. With this city engulfed in chaos, they found that, while one might not simply walk into Mordor, they do simply walk into Rome. Armed with arguments which were well thought out, and in no way comparable to Nerd Rage, the Huns challenged Rome to a debate. The Romans, unable to watch The Return of the King, or under NDA, had no counter, and the Empire was no more. Despite their obvious role in the destruction of Rome, Ticketmaster denies any responsibility. The emperors held all the power. Ticketmaster only sells tickets. Their prices are in line with demand, and their service fees represent the rising costs of operating in a difficult market environment. Anyone who doesn't like it is free to look up monopoly in the dictionary. Are you cursed with too much money? Burdened with too much free time? Good news! I'm an author, and my satirical fantasy books are just what you need. Links are in the description.